40 years ago, community leaders tried to stop its release. The PTA fought to ban it. But no one can keep an axe-wielding Santa from coming to town. At least that's what it says on the back of the 4K for Silent Night, Deadly Night from 1984. This is the Scream Factory release. Today we're going to be taking a look at this 3-disc set and comparing it to the original DVD release from Anchor Bay and Starz from 2003. We're going to talk about the special features as well as comparing the film scans from the DVD, the Blu-ray, and the 4K. Plus, we're also going to solve the mystery of why do people think this is not the uncut version? The 4K has 3 discs, as I mentioned, a 4K disc of the theatrical version, a Blu-ray of the theatrical version, and a Blu-ray of the unrated version. So this is the initial release of Silent Night, Deadly Night on DVD. As you can see, it is a double feature with part 2. On the inside, you will find a double-sided disc with one movie on each side, as well as this little printout from Anchor Bay about the movies themselves. Now this is the first way I bought it. I bought it used, I want to say for 10 or 15 bucks. And what's cool is this does feature an audio interview with director Charles E. Sellier Jr. and Santa's Stockings of Outrage, which did make it onto the new release as well. Here's where it gets interesting. Not only do other YouTubers, but every piece of information online that I could find referred to this DVD as the cut version or the theatrical version, but it's not. I didn't even realize it until I went to record clips for this, because it had been a year or two since I watched Silent Night, Deadly Night. At least this DVD copy. There's a little bit at the beginning about how they use standard definition inserts and stuff. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's what they did with the new release as well. 21 years later, they're still using standard def inserts to get the uncut version of the film out. However, this one doesn't advertise it as the uncut version or the unrated version. When people think of that, most of them think of the 2007 Anchor Bay Starz release. This one advertises itself as uncut and uncensored, the way it was meant to be seen. And this is where I get confused. Am I missing something? Is this the unrated version and they released the uncut version? Because the theatrical version of Silent Night, Deadly Night is 82 minutes. The uncut version that they advertised on both this and in the new 4K set is 85 minutes. So is the version on here, the original release. And if you read the back, it tells you that it's 85 minutes and not rated. So I'm confused. Are there actually 3 cuts of Silent Night, Deadly Night, and they just don't advertise this one as anything? Or are people misremembering, forgetting? Is the information just not out there? Either way, I have more on that when we actually look at the comparison of these. This one came out last year in 2024, and I just picked it up this year because it was finally on sale. I mean, it had probably been on sale a bunch of times, I just didn't, see it. And I've always been a big fan of this franchise. I did a video recently talking about the history of the franchise, and I sort of reviewed every film individually really quick. And this first one, I think, holds up amazingly well. In fact, let's get right into this comparison. Alright, so here we are taking a look at the comparison. So on the top left, you will have the 2003 Anchor Bay Starz DVD release that we talked about before. That is in fact the uncut version despite what it says online. On the top right, you will have the Scream Factory Blu-ray from 2017. And in the bottom middle, you will obviously have the 2024 4K release. I would say at the beginning of these, first of all, these 3 images were captured off the same player. Didn't mess with any of the settings or anything. The images are then shrunk down to all 3 fit, 50% scale, and then it's compressed and uploaded to YouTube. So take all that into account when you watch a video like this. We don't have the same 4K players, we don't have the same 4K TVs. Anyway, let's get right into it. The colors are very subtle. The big differences for me are in the whites and the greens, but I mean, this is something I would say that you probably wouldn't notice too much if you weren't watching a comparison like this. If you pull them up next to each other, it's a lot easier to notice these differences. An interesting thing to point out here is the highlights on the blood there. On the DVD, they're like completely washed out. They're just not even there. And something I always notice with these Blu-rays are always a little bit higher in contrast. I think, that companies tried to make Blu-rays like the best version of the movie that they could, you know what I mean? They really spent time with the color stuff. As opposed to 4Ks, it seems like they do that, but they're trying to make it look as close to the film negative as they can. Both have value, I think, but like, it's just one of those things. It's like you notice that the 4Ks are a little bit darker. They don't always look like that on your TV, though. You know what I mean? It's only when we compare it to the Blu-ray and DVD that we think it actually looks darker. But listen, it's been compressed without HDR, and it's not 4K anymore at this point, so I have 2 cats on my lap now. This is fun. They're beautiful boys. Tell them Merry Christmas. A big thing for me when I'm watching these is skin tone. Skin tone and hair tone. So, look at that DVD, right? He almost has a sort of greenish hue in his hair. But that's really when you compare it to the Blu-ray, which looks like it has a more natural hue to his hair. I think the skin tone looks a little more natural in the DVD, though. This is just like nitpicky stuff you pick up on when you compare these like this. Nearly every 4K I've ever looked at, though, always looks a little bit darker than its Blu-ray counterpart. And again, I think that's mainly due to the loss of, HDR and all that, and just compressing it further. But you'll have to tell me in the comments below, because I look at these 3 images, and they are not different enough for me to be like, oh man, I'm real glad I got that version. Because I think they're all pretty acceptable, to be honest. Now, I didn't take the time to watch the full Blu-ray, I only recorded the clips, but in the last couple weeks I did watch the DVD in its entirety and the 4K. And I just got caught up in the movie, I definitely appreciated the extra definition in the 4K scan, but other than that, I'm one of those people that's a firm believer that you should buy a movie you don't have that you really like before you upgrade. But upgrading's good too sometimes, I had the DVD, I didn't have the Blu-ray, so I figured what the hell, I'll pull the trigger on the 4K. Because I really do like this movie. Another good example of the skin tones, I think the DVD looks so much more naturally colored. Everything's so boosted on the Blu-ray there. And the 4K pretty much just looked like a darkened but still oversaturated version, kind of like the Blu-ray. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The Blu-ray looks like this guy has jaundice and he needs to get to the hospital. And I feel bad sometimes when I do these because of how dark that 4K looks. I promise you, it doesn't look that bad on a TV. But I also refuse to artificially, lighten it or anything in these videos to change how the actual film looks. But that Blu-ray is vibrant as hell, man. It's just almost scarring and burning to my eyes. I do always like to take a look at bright lights and darks and blacks. You can see the color differences here. Everything's a little more blue in both the Blu-ray and the 4K than the DVD. But also you'll notice the lighting on that sign is just completely washed out on the DVD. I can actually read it on the 4K and Blu-ray. It's the Sinclair gas station sign. Another good example here, the Blu-ray. Billy needs to get to the hospital here. He's really orange. He's looking way more human in the DVD there. And somewhere kind of in the middle, honestly, pretty natural there on the 4K as well. Alright, now we've got some kill scenes. Again, you can see on the light bulb there. You can see much more detail on the actual bright light on the 4K and even the Blu-ray than the DVD. Now, is that important? I don't know. I guess not. I guess that's the thing to consider, is just how important are these scans to you? I like watching these to see how good it looks, but here's a good example of something that's very interesting. You can tell in the top left on the DVD that that's a standard definition insert. Now, obviously, it's just the DVD, but that's the footage they used. They've clearly found something and cleaned it up for the Blu-ray and 4K, thankfully. Well, what's even more interesting here, I'm realizing now, the DVD on the top left and Blu-ray on the top right are actually using the same framed footage, so it's probably just cleaned up for that Blu-ray release. Because look at the bottom, that's a completely different shot. It has way more of his beard in the frame and everything. That's fascinating. Then we've got this scene, which I of course had to cut a lot out of to even include it here, but I had to. A very iconic scene, I mean, let's face it, so iconic that they put it in the reboot in 2012. Now here we're also going to have a moment where on the Blu-ray on the top right and the DVD on the top left, it's going to cut to the standard footage here, while the 4K keeps going with the scene. So right here, we cut to this. As you can see, it's the same footage over there, but cleaned up a little bit better for the Blu-ray. That was the only real comparison I have for the uncut stuff being in there, but it's fascinating to see, because like I said, that 2003 DVD on the top left has all the same footage in there. This is always one of my favorite scenes from this movie too. It's always terrifying. even when you know how it's going to end. And honestly, all three of these look pretty great too. The skin tones are a lot more similar here. The colors are more evenly matched throughout all three of these scans during this scene than any of the others that I've seen so far. Like, that is a clean DVD scan. And I always tell people this, but the biggest jump, I think, was from VHS to DVD. In some movies, if the DVD scan was bad enough, it's from DVD to Blu-ray, but... And he gives her the knife. Beautiful, isn't it? Check out some more of these night shots. Again, the DVD scan is a little more green tinted here. Both the others being a little more cooler, a little more blue. The Blu-ray with the uncut version is probably all you need, but if all you have is the DVD, you're probably going to be fine too. No matter what release you have, as long as you have access to at least the uncut version, and maybe both the uncut and theatrical, then you're in good shape. All of those scans were pretty fucking watchable to me. If you like this video, be sure to check out this one and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.